Hi, hello, this is Dr. Cidambi. We are going to talk about something a bit controversial today. Um, so, it's a bit controversial, sexually explicit content in Indian cinema. This is both Bollywood, Tollywood, and any kind of movies that we make in India. So it's quite a controversial, topic. We are talking cultural influences like India's patriarchal society, and the more conservative social norms, the social economic things, and the economic strategies, the box office hit. The business side is huge. So we can't forget about the censorship and the role of the regulatory bodies in India. It's a whole system, and the psychological and the impact, voyeurism, depression, anxiety, all these things, right? Let's really dive in and talk about it. This idea, India's conservative social norms, the very ones you think would push against explicit content, might as well be driving the demand for it. What are your thoughts on that? Right? It's a paradox, right? You would assume that conservative society will be less open to this kind of content, but it might be the opposite. The more it's taboo or off limits, the more it sparks curiosity, especially in a culture where open conversations about sexuality has been traditionally forbidden. It's forbidden fruit. The more you tell you can't have it, the more I want to have it. So the patriarchal structure of Indian society plays a big role too. Women are often objectified, and unfortunately it's reflected and portrayed in the scene. Think about those songs in those movies. They don't really have a direct link to the plot, but they are super popular with the segments, especially to the segment of certain piece of audience. The business side of Indian cinemas, it's a massive industry, and those filmmakers are always under pressure to create. The stakes are high. So how explicit contents fit into that requirement? Is it just about a shock value, or is it more to it? Well, think about this way. Controversy sells. If the film has even a hints of explicit content, or even the rumor of it, it can generate a ton of buzz. So it's a free publicity. In a super competitive market like Bollywood or Indian cinemas, anything that makes the cinema stand out, it can make or break a movie. So many films have been released in a year, so you need to kind of attract the attention. So it's a super controversial movies, like the highest grossing movies are the ones which are totally dirty, so they know using suggestive content can make people like really talk about it, and it can really translate to success. There's a strategic element to it. So it's a mix of cultural curiosity, pressure to create box office hits, and the filmmakers using, well, it's called a creative marketing to get there. So the censorship board, India has a pretty strong censorship system, right? Shouldn't they be stepping in and reading things in? But they do exist. They are the Central Board of Film Certification, CBFC, right? So their role, what's their role? Their job is to review films and give them ratings based on their content. They can actually suggest edits or cuts or outright ban films, anything to violate, too political, too explicit. So are they super strict or slip through the cracks sometimes? It a mixed bag sometimes. They have been criticized for not always being consistent, sometimes with the films with suggestive screen, might slip through, which another film might be heavily censored. It's a bit of a gray area. So how do they decide which crosses the line? Is there a specific set of rules? They do have guidelines, but there has been a lot of debate about, to be clear enough, there have been accusations like corruption and political influence affecting the decisions. So it's not always the straightforward as follow the rules. There might be other factors that play. So the lack of transparency makes things even more complex. So we've cultured the cultural norms, box office pressures, and even a bit of censorship drama. What about the audience themselves? Why are people drawn to this kind of content for the first place? What's the psychology behind this? Think about what we've been talking about, what is forbidden fruit, right? Where the society is really not entertaining the open conversation. So the glimpse into some of these things it's taboo. So the natural human curiosity is what's being tabbed. The element of fantasy and escapism, these films offer to explore their fantasies and their sexual desires, which cannot be acted out in the real space. So it's kind of a safe space for them to explore without having to act out on this. There is also a simple fact that for some people, explicit content is, sexually gratifying. That's the basic human need. So as you can see, there are a lot of factors that play. It's really a complex issue with cultural, economic, social, and even psychological elements all tangled up together. And you make you think, doesn't it, about censorship, about freedom of expression, as to how we are, expressing. And, it's just way beyond the cinemas, The next time you watch most Indian cinemas, think about all these forces behind the scenes to lead to this moment. The entertainment is never just an entertainment. Says a lot about who we are, what we value, and maybe even what we secretly desire. So it's really a food for thought. Thank you for joining me here, and really let's try to look at our culture. And sitting outside of India, watching these movies, in this 21st century is really, it's a question that lingers around. What are we doing? We are progressing? Are we regressing? Are we not addressing? On that note, I'll leave you guys with this food for thought. Thank you. Bye-bye.